This video is all about invert prep, so working on getting you upside down in a really safe and strong way. I try to include loads of different exercises, hopefully some of which you've not tried before. Make sure you work to your level, and if you do try any of the invert-based moves, you only do them if you have already been taught them by an instructor. Your knee tucks are going to be your base move for any invert. I like to have my inside hand thumb up at cheek height and my outside hand thumb up at about forehead height. I bring my elbows in towards each other and pull down. You want to lean back in the top half and tuck your pelvis under as much as you can before trying to bring your knees up towards your chest. There are many different versions of your knee tuck that you can do, which I have actually put in a separate video. I'm sure you already know what a knee tuck is, and while I do think they are one of the most important moves for you to work on for your invert, I'm going to show you some other fun moves. A pull up into a pencil, and then adding on knee tucks if you can. So my hands start in the same position, but I walk them a couple of inches higher than I'd usually have them for my knee tucks. From there, as you pull with your arms, you want to try and lift your body up so you come back to having your outside arm at forehead height and your inside arm at cheek height. You can then squeeze into the inside armpit. If this feels super strong, you can add on knee tucks, but if not, just lift into that pencil. This will get you strong just holding your body off of the floor. A climb into a knee tuck. In your climb, you want to invert to the side of your top arm, regardless of what the legs are doing. I like to circle my front leg back behind the pole and take my hips over the front of the other side of the pole. My outside arm is still my highest arm. Tips for this one are to pop your hips in front of the pole and squeeze in the inside armpit as quick as you can. The idea is again to be able to hold yourself where your outside hand is at forehead height and your inside arm is at cheek height. Try not to lengthen through the arms, as your invert will be so much harder if you do. If this feels super easy, why not add on some knee tucks? Our next few exercises are on the floor, which is always nice to have a little rest. I like working on the rocking position, as that can sometimes be the hardest. So if you sit on the floor with your hips in front of the pole, with your arms as if you were going to knee tuck. Think about bringing your knees in towards your chest, and that replicates your knee tuck. You then want to open your knees up towards your shoulders, which is another knee tuck variation I do. Think about keeping your body in this teeny tiny ball. Keep your knees glued to your shoulders. Start to rock back so your upper body is going to come away from the pole and you want to start to lengthen through the arms. You can think of this as pulling the pole away from you or pushing the pole away from you. You kind of do a bit of both as you move through this one. As soon as your body is leant all the way back, make sure your hips are super close to the pole. If this feels easy, you're going to straighten out your legs over your head as if you are going to do a straddle. To come out, pull your feet to your bum and bring your body back up. You can repeat this as many times as you want to. The idea is to work on getting comfortable with the rock back so that your body knows what you're going to do when you do it from standing. Straddle leg lifts. This is an evil conditioning move. So let's start in our knee tuck position with the arms. The hips are going to be in front of the pole. Open up your legs into a straddle. Squeeze your quads and point your toes and tuck your pelvis under ever so slightly. This might feel like a strange position at first. From here, you're going to try and lift your legs off of the floor towards the pole, keeping the legs super straight. Now here, we're not trying to invert, we're just trying to get the legs really, really strong so they can stay straight and you can lift them nice and easy. When this one feels good, I've got a killer to add on, and the killer is to do this with your butt off the floor. Now I'd only really expect you to be able to do this if you could already lift into your invert with straight legs, so don't worry if this is a struggle. Again, you're starting with your inside arm low and your outside arm above, and you are pulling. Tuck your pelvis under and engage your core. Keep both legs super straight, and you're lifting your legs up wide to a straddle. Now here, I don't want you to go upside down, this is just a conditioning exercise, so legs are going to come up, hopefully towards the pole, and then down towards the floor. Hip thrusts. I find these ones are really great to understand the last little hip lift when you come into your invert or your straddle. Lie on your back on the floor and take both hands into a cup grip on the pole. You want your hands to be quite loose if possible. Keep your legs super straight and lift them off of the floor in line with your hips. As soon as they come in line with the hips, you can pull on the pole and thrust your hips up towards the pole. Think about kicking your feet to the ceiling, so you almost come into a shoulder stand or candlestick position. You don't want your feet to go overhead like a straddle, you want to stay in a nice straight pencil shape. You can try this with your hands either way round. You can then move to trying this one one-handed on either side. You can then take your hands down to the floor but try not to push. And then you can take your hands overhead and off the floor so you know you're using your core to help you get that push. With the next few exercises, make sure you have been taught already how to safely invert before trying out these ones. There are so many different points to these ones that I want to make sure you do them safely. Basic invert from the floor. Start on your back with your inside armpit really close to the pole but not touching the pole. Take your inside hand, thumb up on the pole where it naturally sits. You want your outside hand to be just a teeny tiny bit above. If you need to slide your arms up a tiny bit as you do this one, you can do. Lift your legs up wide into a straddle and then thrust the hips up like we did with the hip thrusts before. You want to take your outside leg over the front of the pole and your inside leg behind the pole. I then like to pull with my arms and lift my head and torso off the floor before lowering back down to the floor and taking the legs off and repeating. Outside leg hang from the floor. Again, I start as if I'm going to do my basic invert from the floor. I lift both legs up nice and wide in a straddle and I thrust my hips up as high as possible. I then hook back behind the outside knee on the pole. Your outside foot should always be lower than your outside knee. From here, pull with both arms and try and lift your head and torso off of the floor. Your inside leg needs to be away from you and it can be straight or it can be bent. Lower yourself back down to the floor, unhook your outside leg and lower your legs to the floor before going again. With the last two moves, you want to work on the hip thrust more than anything. So as you bring your legs up, think about pulling with the arms and thrusting your hips up nice and high and towards the pole, but without bashing the pole. The higher you manage to get your hips while you're on the floor, the easier it's going to be when you do it in the air. Rock back to a straddle. We can do this one on the floor and then eventually when it feels easy, we can lift off of the floor. Start sitting in front of the pole with your inside hand behind you on the pole, thumb up at about shoulder height. It'll take you a few attempts to figure out where exactly you need to sit. Lean your body back towards the pole and as you do, start to pull into the inside armpit. So you'll need to wrap your wrist, bend the elbow and pull into the armpit. As soon as you feel like you can, take your outside hand, thumb up just a little bit above your inside hand. Lean your body all the way back until it's just your shoulders on the floor. At the same time, keep your legs super straight and lift them up one either side of the pole and try, if you can, to lift your butt off the floor. Bring yourself back to a seated position and repeat again and again and again. The idea here is to get used to that rock back and lift of the hips before you try it from standing. Now, if this does feel super easy, you can of course try to lift up on that last rock back. So as your body comes back and your legs come overhead and you're pulling with both arms, you want to just try and pull a little bit more, so bend through the arms and see if you can take your shoulders off of the floor. Lunge to an invert. This is a nice way to invert really low. Now make sure if you try this one, you are not kicking into this one. We want nice strong lifts. Start in a lunge with your inside leg in front and your outside leg behind. Your outside thigh should roughly be in line with the pole, and your inside butt cheek should be just over the front of the pole. Again, your inside arm is lowest and your outside arm is above at forehead height. The first version we're going to do is to step forward on the inside foot, so put the weight through the inside foot and start to push your hips forward. The outside leg is going to come from a backwards position, it's going to come forwards and straighten up. Look up to the top of the pole and preferably this leg is going to be really close to the pole. You then want to start to pull and lift your inside foot off the floor. The more flexible you are, the easier this one's going to be, but don't worry if your outside leg is a little bit further away from the pole. Either way, get your outside leg as close to the pole as possible before then lifting, so you only have to lift the last couple of inches. From there, we can place both legs on the pole with the outside leg over the front and the inside leg behind the pole. To come down, squeeze both knees together and unhook your feet from the pole. Pull with the arms and really slowly lower your legs through a reverse knee tuck. If this feels easy, we're going to make it a little bit harder by starting with the outside leg straight in front of us. This way is nice as your outside leg will hopefully stay straight which makes this one feel more like your straddle. Push through the inside leg as you pull through the arms, and lift your outside leg up as close to the pole as possible. You can then pick your inside leg up off of the floor before taking your outside foot over the front of the pole and your inside foot behind the pole. Squeeze both knees into the pole as hard as you can. And then when you want to come down, take the feet off but keep the knees squeezing. Pull through the arms, lift your head and lower down onto your feet first. There are lots of different conditioning exercises within this video, so hopefully you found a few that you want to try. Make sure you do both sides evenly, and a good start point is to do 5 on each side. If you're feeling like you want to do more, try 3 sets of 5 on each side and just pick and choose the exercises that you want to do. I really hope you liked this video and the exercises, so let me know in the comments below how you got on. If you want to check out my other invert prep video, I'll leave it for you here. Thanks for watching, bye!